people quit. That's why they don't continue in speaking and coaching. I think the first piece of advice I gave you in podcasting was, put 10 podcasts in a can. Don't worry about publicizing them, because if you can create 10 podcasts, it'll put you in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world, because most people quit before they get to 10. And besides that, you'll get really good. You'll get exponentially better from this 0 podcast to 10 is exponential how much better you get from practicing. Yeah.
Episode 3 of the Beyond Virtual podcast. I have a very close friend, a mentor, a coach, a guider in life, the famous David Meltzer. How you doing today?
Fantastic. I am so proud of you. My greatest joy comes from empowering others to empower others. And this podcast is proof of that. You're proof of that. And I can't wait to see what we're going to discuss today.
I want to first start by saying that one of my very first live features was about 6 years ago when I started the VA group, and I had about 30, 40 clients, and I got asked to be on, I believe it was office hours on LinkedIn and Instagram. And to be honest, it wasn't even new. It was like the 100th episode that you were doing, but I got to be on your podcast, Office Hours. And I actually got 3 emails just from that in my DMs, actually, asking for more information on what I did. Like, it's crazy how promoting yourself, especially with a live audience that you've already built this know, like, and trust factor with, is the cream of the crop. I mean, what more do you need from this? So Aishwad, I want to say thank you so much for allowing me on this podcast and getting me to where I am today and continuing to be my coach and mentor for this. So I first wanted to say just thank you so much for your time. But for the people that shockingly don't know you, can you please introduce who you are?
Yeah, I'm David Meltzer, on a mission to empower over 1 billion people to be happy, defined by 3 of my greatest skills, knowledge, and desires, which is to make a lot of money, help a lot of people, and have a lot of fun. And I'm teaching people to do that as I've done it for myself once the wrong way in a world of scarcity, and then losing over $100 million going bankrupt 18 years ago, and making those 3 things possible and probable in the perspective of everyone that I share it with over the last 18 years the right way, with not only the wisdom and diligence, consistent, persistent pursuit, but with faith as well, which has played an integral part in the protection, promotion, love, and perfection of my life. Even when there was no evidence, or the evidence was contrary to where I wanted to be, it's faith that gave me the purpose and the commitment to overcome the extraordinary amount of pain that I've been able to endure.
I'm actually really glad that you brought up faith, and especially in this age that we're currently in, which is April 22nd of 2025. We're in the technology era. We're in the AI era. We're in a lot of business excitement where entrepreneurs and business owners are excited about the tools that are coming in hand, especially because it's going to increase efficiency. However, there's a lot of worrisome, especially in the blue collar and white collar industry, to be honest, overall, especially with robotics that are going to be introduced. And a lot of people lately have been resorting into God, into whatever religion that they believe in, into faith, into a higher power. I'm curious on what your insights are in this type of era on entrepreneurs and business owners specifically.
It's been a blessing of mine that I've been in technology for a long time, probably close to the amount of time that you've been born. In 1992, I was thrusted when I graduated law school into the internet, pre-chasm internet that was so slow that it would rock the minds of children today. A dial-up service, 9600 baud modems, and an XT computer. So you can imagine running DOS, how slow technology was. And I'm telling you this because technology has always been in the forefront of this fear, the worry, the replacement. I'm sure when the cotton gin came out, there was a bunch of people worried. When the gas lamp went away and electricity came about, there's a bunch of worry. And
Interesting insights.
I actually got hired in sports, not because of my law degree or that I'm an amazing sports agent, but I ran the most notable sports agency in the world, hired because I understood venture capital and technology better than anybody else that was capable of doing the job of running Lee Steinberg Sports Entertainment. My perspective of AI is the same perspective I had when people told me you never do research on the internet, you need books. When they told me you would never buy anything on the internet, the credit cards would never be secure. The idea of technology from the beginning of time, fire is a technology, a hammer is a technology, has always been created for the sake of making humans more human. Uh, Unfortunately, there's bad humans, and fortunately, there's good humans. And technology has made bad humans badder and good humans gooder. And it's as simple as that, in my perspective. Uh, Understanding with faith that we don't have to worry, be separate, inferior, superior, anxious, frustrated, angry. But with faith comes the idea that although I don't understand the evidence, and I mentioned this earlier in my own demise, that the evidence was not there, that there was a promotion, a protection, a love and perfection. There was contrary evidence that I was being protected, promoted, loved, and perfected by what was going on. That it was my faith that told me I just didn't understand. That there was something bigger than me that had all the information and all the power, all the omnipotent, omniscient, all of the omnis of oneness. And for me, it's always worked out that way, that technology assists me in being protected, promoted, loved, and perfected. Yes, there are things that can be done with all technologies that can create more interference between us and where we want to be. But I believe that we hold the power to utilize technology for our greatest good, that we can utilize AI in any industry, career, or job for its greatest good to make humans more human. And if we can share and empower others with this perspective, I promise you, we will have greater productivity, greater accessibility, access to that power, and the ability to be accessible to others to help them, as well as more gratitude, more ability to find the light, the love, and the lessons quicker in everything that we do.
Dave also needs to add the word philosopher, into the many titles here. I want to say one more thing about faith, because you reminded me of my mother as well. My mom told me, and put it into also my 4 other brothers as well, that if you had faith and you believe in God and you love God, you will never fear a day in your life, because you know the outcome, you know what's going to happen. So thank you for kind of getting me that childhood dopamine right there as well. And I absolutely agree with you. AI, where it's at right now, is an enhancement. It's used as a tool to increase efficiency at a business. I think robotics that are going to be coming in, that are going to be utilizing AI, are going to replace a lot of the workforce that's going to be out there, which is why that I'm going to be training my children entrepreneurship and religion, because I think those are 2 things that are never really going to go anywhere. It's 2 things that AI and robotics essentially can't replace. As long as they're thinking intuitively and creatively, I can't see them getting exiled in the possibilities of this future. Now, for coaching and public speaking specifically, the power of networking, the power of, being there face to face, which I need to take a dose into my own reality, because I've told Dave that I'm going to see him multiple times. And I've known Dave for years now. And the last 3 or 4 times I've had actual things happen or excuses that I can't make it. So Dave, I'm saying this live on the podcast in front of hundreds and hundreds of clients. Next time you're in Vegas, I don't care what I'm doing. I'm moving these plans away. Unless, God forbid, something happens that I can't. I'm seeing you, Dave. We're coming face to face. But the power of networking and the power of shaking somebody's hand and being face to face, I feel that it's kind of escaping these business owners because of this technology, because of this, mindset of being comfortable of where you're currently at. Can you speak on that and speak on why that's wrong?
And I'm going to make it relative to what you suggested about your own children. So there's three things that we should focus in on empowering our children with. One of them is AI. So one of them is, understanding where AI is today and where we think it will be tomorrow. Beyond that, the other two things that we should talk about to help our children is reading. You talked about faith that comes from reading. Reading allows us to decipher imagination. It also is a muscle of imagination. When we read, we are forced to exercise our imagination, which connects us to our higher source, your God, my God, and other people's gods. And it also allows us to distinguish between imagination and reality. So as we practice the muscle imagination, I would encourage people to read more themselves, to practice AI, but also to encourage their children to read more. The next one is the most interesting one that I wish I could require my children to do, but I can't. But I know it's a guarantee in entrepreneurship. It's a guarantee in life. It'll be the greatest distinguishing skill and capability that we can give to our future generation. And the best way to practice that is to require your children to knock on 150 doors a day for 1 year, 7 days a week. I promise you, anyone out there that wants their children to be a successful entrepreneur, that if they understand AI and they read, but if they knock on 150 doors 7 days a week, selling solar, selling pest control, raising money for charity, Jehovah Witness, Mormon, the Book of God, whatever you want them to do, there is nothing on this earth that will prepare you better for the future. Studying AI, reading, and knocking on 150 doors a day for 7 days a week for 1 year. I promise success to anyone that's willing to do those three things. Now, I do want to mention one other thing about you showing up and other people showing up. It's just a matter of prioritization. And it's okay when you have to prioritize things over showing up for other individuals or doing certain things. And I'm unabashedly non-apologetic and very grateful when I tell my own family, hey, I can't make that birthday party. And they say to me, why? Well, it's really simple. I have something more important to do. And according to my non-negotiables or my negotiables, according to the circumstances of the day, as much as I value our relationship, Shane, and I value the relationship with my siblings, sometimes I need to prioritize what's important to me and not show up. And it's okay to make that value decision, although other people have a need to be offended, a need to be inferior and superior and anxious, and there's guilt and resentment and all of these great feelings that interfere with our higher selves. I find it important to encourage people to at least prioritize your days and be okay with the decisions you make, because there's one thing about living in abundance in faith is there's more than enough of everything. There's more opportunities, options, touches of favor, more than enough invitations to do things. And part of living in abundance is knowing that I can't do it all within the incremental context of 24 hours. Therefore, I need to prioritize, which will be the antidote to the guilt, resentment, the overwhelmed feeling, or even procrastination that occurs. So I encourage prioritization, and I admire when you don't show up, because it tells me you have something more important to do, and I feel the love.
You know, Dave, I don't know if anybody's ever told you this, but you should be a public speaker.
Thanks. Let's take it into that realm. You know, you talked about AI in speaking and coaching. Let me put some math behind AI. AI helps us from -1 to 0. It also helps us from 0 to 1. In the speaking and coaching world, most speakers and coaches have problems from -1 to 0 and 0 to 1. They don't have a problem from 1 to 100. But it takes more time to get from -1 to 0 than it does even from 0 to 1. And it takes far more time to get from -1 to 0 and 0 to 1 than it does from 1 to 100. That's why people quit. That's why they don't continue in speaking and coaching. I think the first piece of advice I gave you in podcasting was, put 10 podcasts in a can. Don't worry about publicizing them, because if you can create 10 podcasts, it'll put you in the top 1% of all podcasts in the world, because most people quit before they get to 10. And besides that, you'll get really good. You'll get exponentially better from this 0 podcast to 10 is exponential how much better you get from practicing it. And so I think it holds true in speaking and in coaching, that I take all the things that are necessary as a coach or a speaker to go from -1 to 0, but especially 0 to 1. So understanding the lessons and the stories that I want to, I mean, it's so nice now that I can say, hey, create a training outline on rules and breaking rules as if I'm David Meltzer, speaker, author, entrepreneur. That comes from the essence of David Meltzer, speaker, author, entrepreneur, and all the content that exists today. I tell people all the time, you're making a huge mistake if you're not capturing your essence, your lessons, and your stories, regardless of whether you're on stage as a coach, do interviews, or ever post one of them. And it is aligned with AI in the context of speaking and coaching, because think about this. When everyone has all this power through AI, what's going to make the difference beyond reading and knocking on doors? What's going to make the difference with AI? I'm going to tell you what's going to make the difference. If I capture my content a minimum of 30 minutes a day, 7 days a week for 5 years, we can't even fathom how powerful the quantum mechanics and quantum computing and utilization of AI in order to effectuate that quantum power. But what I'll tell you is that quantum power will be exponentially more valuable with David Meltzer's content, who 5 years from now will have 15 years of content to draw from, to synthesize, to replicate the essence of the philosopher, the speaker, the author, the coach, the executive producer of TV shows and movies, the humanitarian, the philanthropist, all of the different meetups and holding courts and speeches and masterminds, all of it captured for 15 years. And we all get the same quantum power, but do we all have a capability of applying it to 15 years of self, of what I've done, said, thought, believed, and felt? And so the differentiator is going to set me so far ahead of everyone 5 years from now. And anyone like you that's capturing content every day for the next 5 years, we all have equal power. The irony to me, see, is that this was the shift in my paradigm, that we all have the same power. I'm just interfering with it less. And by creating the content over the next 5 years, once again, the power of I am will be exponentially utilized, and I'll be able to figure out what I'm doing to interfere with it, and I'll be able to modify it, edit, and perpetuate it in a far greater manner, because there's more data to synthesize about my essence, the essence of David Meltzer, captured for years and years and years.
It's so funny, and I'm going to tell you this in obviously a very respectful way, because you've been my coach for a very long time. And when I talk about David Meltzer, I say that success and money absorbs him. I don't know what it is, because he holds the multiple sentences of titles that is here, but you have to be around his aura, because if you're around his aura, everything else will come to fruition as far as success, personal goals, professional goals. And I want to back that up with a statement that you also don't know. When we talked about 2 years ago, I'm now 238 pounds. I was 285 pounds. There's two things that you said that it wasn't in coaching, it was almost in passing, that you said that the most important things to you that you focus on is your sleep. I'll never forget that, he actually has a sleep coach, that if you want to find out more, ask Dave about a sleep coach. which I absolutely agree with. You need your REM cycle, especially for you. There's no 24 hours a day. It's almost nonstop. I imagine you dream about this kind of stuff as well. But the other important thing is health, because if you take care of yourself, you could take care of everything around you. I just wanted to thank you again for your wisdom here, and for what you've provided. It's so much more than you actually know. And there's so much more thanks that I can't give you besides just telling you. And I really just wanted to say, I'm appreciative of you. I'm appreciative of your time. And I know you're a very busy man for even jumping onto this podcast. And I just wanted to say thank you so much. For people that don't follow you already and don't follow your story, how can they follow you?
Yeah, I appreciate that, because that truly is my mission. And I'm sincere to it, of empowering people like you to empower others. And number one, I'd like to invite your entire community to reach out to me directly via email, david@dmeltzer.com. I'd love to sign a book, send it to you, pay for shipping and the book, not just the book. I'll pay for shipping and the book. And if you could let me know how impactful my book is, audio, ebook, or signed copy, to change or to plant the seeds to change your life, I would greatly appreciate it. If you don't want to email me and you just want to find me, Google my name, David Meltzer. You can find me everywhere, every platform, and our community is growing. I would invite everyone to join our private networking group. 200 events a year. Our members get exclusivity to the Masters, the NASDAQ, the Super Bowl, the Wynn, SoFi, and that's just to name a few. We have created a private networking group where I help people and give them advice and introductions, but so does the billionaires, millionaires, entrepreneurs, celebrities, athletes, and entertainers that circles our spheres of influence. It's the most powerful network in entrepreneurship today.
I agree.
David@dmeltzer.com. And I also want to thank Shane for making me look good. Remember, you're not always taught by Dave Meltzer. Sometimes you're just caught. And sometimes you catch the lessons in something I said, do, thought, or believed. And I appreciate everyone for their time. I look forward to doing more with everyone, especially Shane. Congratulations and thank you again.
I also want to add that he actually responds to his emails. He actually is the one who handles his sales calls. Despite everything that he does, he still puts in that personal touch. 100%. He's the authentic, the real deal Holyfield right here. And you got him on the episode of Beyond Virtual Podcast. Thank you so much, Dave. We'll see you guys for the next episode. Bye, guys.